I married my husband when his daughter Trudy was 22. She is now 36. He was 47 and I was 32. I have 2 kids, 20 and 18 now. Both are away at college. Trudy never liked me, and that was fine. She has a mother, and she was a full adult living on her own when we met. Her parents had been divorced for 6 years when I met her father. We live in a city with lots of tourism, so it was an easy decision to keep my apartment and do short-term rentals when my kids and I moved in with my husband. We also use it for out-of-town guests. Trudy and her husband ran into some financial problems last year. Trudy and her family of 4 moved in with us. We agreed that after the holidays, I would stop taking reservations for my apartment, and they could move in there. They would sign a lease, and we would rent it to them without collecting rent so they could build up rental history and money. Trudy moved in last October. It was hell. She doesn't help around the house, and neither do her kids. Her husband is working his butt off to get money together for them, so he comes home exhausted, and he is more help than her or their kids. The 3 of them leave dirty dishes everywhere. Dirty laundry everywhere. The house is just a mess. I have spoken to all of them, including my husband, about this. My son-in-law is the only one who makes an effort. Trudy literally said that I live in her father's house, so I don't get to tell her what to do. My husband did not back me up, so I moved out. My apartment is now empty since the holidays are over. I said I didn't want them treating my property like they were treating my husband's home. They are all mad at me for leaving and changing the plan. She actually threatened to sue me since they have a signed lease. I told her to go ahead since I could prove that I never got the agreed-upon deposit or first and last month's rent, which we were going to cover to help them start over. I've been here for a week now, and it is great. No noise, no mess, a much better commute for me to my work. My husband has been spending a few nights a week here with me. He wants me to come home and give them the apartment like we agreed. I said I would do that if we went back to his house that minute, and it was in good shape. Narrator's voiceover goes here. It was not. It was disgusting, like it smelled bad. It was like if 5 teenage boys were living there with no supervision. She saw me looking around in disgust and said that it wasn't her fault and that the mess was because they didn't have their own living space. Yeah, sure. I turned around and went back to my place. I offered to let my husband move in with me if he wants them to have their own space. He won't because he is retired and likes where he is. So like I said, they are all mad at me. My husband, Trudy, her kids, Trudy's husband, is the only one who understands my position. I will no longer agree to let them in my apartment, and I will also only move back once they leave. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Forgot to add, OP, get your locks changed, and stop allowing your husband entry. Take pictures of your apartment, video of everything working. This includes appliances, microwave, fridge, TV, etc. The air conditioning and heat and thermostat, running water and flushing toilets. Anything and everything you can think of. You can't guarantee that while you're at work, they might sneak in for a break, or once you move back with your husband, they take over your apartment, flash their lease, and claim tenants' rights if you try to kick them out. Edit. That she was so ready to yank that lease out to sue you for access is enough proof to not ever trust her, and always be on guard. Comment 2. By you continuing to give your husband a break from the dumpster that he's currently living with, he's not going to get angry enough to create change. He gets to keep his daughter happy, and he still has you when he wants you. Why would he change at that point? There's no incentive to change at all. Not the idiot, but you aren't being firm enough in your response. Your husband clearly doesn't understand that he's allowing not only your home to be disrespected, but he's allowing you to be disrespected. That's not okay. Why would you want to go back to that environment at all? I won't say divorce, but therapy could be a very good option. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 2 weeks since my last post, and boy do I have an update for you. Remember how I moved out because Trudy and her family turned my husband's house into a disaster zone? Well, things have escalated, and not in the way you might expect. First off, let me give you a bit of history on Trudy's husband, Mark. He's always been the hard-working type, trying to provide for his family. He's been nothing but respectful to me since the day we met. I guess that's why he's the only one who seems to get why I left. Now, on to the juicy stuff. After I refused to let Trudy and her family move into my apartment, my husband started spending more time with me there. It was nice at first, but then he began pressing me to reconsider my decision about the apartment. I stood my ground, though. I wasn't about to reward their bad behavior. Here's where it gets steamy. One night, while my husband was over, Mark showed up at my door, looking more exhausted than ever. He was at his wits' end and needed someone to talk to. We ended up having a long conversation, and he confessed that he felt stuck in his marriage with Trudy. He felt unappreciated and overworked, and the current living situation was only making things worse. I comforted him, and one thing led to another. Before I knew it, we were kissing. It was a moment of weakness for both of us, and we immediately regretted it. The guilt was eating me up inside, but I couldn't bring myself to tell my husband. The next day, Trudy confronted me. She had found out about the kiss from Mark, who was ridden with guilt, and confessed to her. The confrontation was intense. Trudy was furious, not just about the kiss, but about everything that had happened since they moved in. She accused me of trying to steal her husband and ruin her family. In the heat of the moment, I fired back with all the pent-up frustration I had about her behavior in the house. I told her how her lack of responsibility and respect for my space led to the breakdown of our family dynamic. It was a full-blown shouting match, and my husband heard every word. He was shocked and disappointed in both of us. He couldn't believe I had kissed Mark, and he couldn't believe how Trudy had been treating me. He decided he needed some time to think and left to stay with a friend. With my husband gone, Trudy and I had no choice but to talk things out. We both apologized for our actions, and she admitted that she had been taking her stress out on me. She promised to start helping around the house and to teach her kids to do the same. As for the apartment, Trudy and her family started cleaning up their act, literally. They cleaned the house from top to bottom and maintained it that way. Seeing their effort, I decided to give them another chance. I agreed to let them move into my apartment, but with strict conditions regarding cleanliness and respect for the property. It's been a week since they moved in, and so far, they've kept their word. The house is in good shape, and my husband has returned home. He's still hurt by what happened, but we're working through it. It's a bittersweet feeling, knowing that things will never be quite the same between us. As for Mark, we've both agreed to never speak of the kiss again. It was a mistake that we both regret. He's trying to mend things with Trudy, and I'm rooting for them to work it out. Cleaning lady brings her 8-year-old sister to my house, and she breaks a glass bowl and eats a piece of cake meant for my daughter. I ask her to leave and pay her for the full 3 hours she was supposed to work. Oh boy, she quits on the spot. Oh boy, she quits on the spot. Oh boy, she quits on the spot. I, a 24-year-old female, am married to my 28-year-old husband, and we have one daughter together, a 4-year-old named Alaya. We both work a lot, and I also work from home often. I needed cleaning, so last week I called an agency, and they sent a girl over to clean the house, and we agreed on $40 an hour. Let's call her Eva. So Eva, who is around 19 or 20 years old, arrives at my house with her little sister, who is 8 years old. I asked her why her little sister was here, and she said she had no one else to leave her with. I wasn't very pleased, but assumed she didn't have a choice, and didn't say anything. I showed Eva the playroom of my daughter and said it was to be cleaned as well, and her sister started staring around the room, touching all the toys. I again didn't say anything. Eva started working, and I went to my room to get ready to pick up a cake for Alaya and to pick Alaya up from school. I heard a noise in Alaya's playroom, so I rushed over and saw Eva's sister playing in the room, and she broke a glass bowl that I had custom made for Alaya when she was born. At this point, I was annoyed, but again I held myself and told Eva to clean it and keep an eye on her sister. I went out and picked up Alaya's favorite cake with strawberries. It was a cake that had strawberries on only one side on the top, and on that same side there were more decorations, etc. I put it in the fridge and left again to pick up Alaya. When we walked into the kitchen, I saw Eva's sister eating a big piece of the cake. And exactly the part with the strawberries and more decorations. I have never had an issue like this before. In fact, the cleaning ladies never open my fridge or anything because they have no business there. I asked Eva what she thought she was doing, and she told me my sister was sad and really wanted cake, so I figured she could have a piece. Alaya started crying because she had been looking forward to her cake with strawberries, and now the piece with strawberries was gone. I told Eva that it is not her place to figure out whether her sister could eat something from my fridge without asking me. She could have waited for me to get back because I told her I would be back. I told her that even if she did do this, she should not have taken the whole decorated piece, because she could have also figured that this cake was meant for my daughter. Eva said that, "You are getting mad for no reason. Just take the money from my pay." I told her she could pack her stuff and leave with her sister. And she didn't have to finish the house cleaning. She had been at the house for only 2 hours, but I paid her $120 and told her to get out. So I told a friend, and she told me that I overreacted over a piece of cake, and I should have understood the little girl. I again said that it is not just cake, but it is rude to open my fridge and take out a cake that is not unboxed yet and eat it. I am wondering now, am I the idiot? Edit. Eva was supposed to be there for 3 hours, and I sent her away after 2, but paid her for 3 hours. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. When you booked your cleaning service, you did not agree to having a child running around the home. Honestly, Eva is lucky you paid her at all, in my opinion. While I think it's a stretch to assume the cake was for your daughter, unless explicitly stated, the food should not have been removed and eaten. I've cleaned houses before, and I've always either brought my own food or eaten before or after. The times I did have to bring my child, I gave advance notice and brought entertainment for him. I made it very clear he was to sit quietly and not wander. Eva did none of these things for her younger sister. Edit. Typo. Comment 2. Not the idiot. That was really unprofessional, and you would have been totally justified to report her to the cleaning agency. Just because you let someone into your home to do a job doesn't mean they have any right to your things. I can sympathize with her not having a sitter and still needing to work, but at the very least, she should have ensured the child brought a book or something to entertain herself. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a wild couple of weeks since my last post about the cleaning lady, Eva, and her little sister. I've got an update that's been nothing short of a roller coaster. Buckle up, because this story took some unexpected turns. First off, let me give you a bit of background on Eva that I didn't mention before. She's been working to support herself and her sister since their parents passed away a couple of years ago. I found this out after the cake incident when I ran into her at the grocery store. She apologized again and explained her situation. I felt a twinge of guilt, but I was still upset about what happened. Now, on to the juicy stuff. After our encounter, Eva and I kept bumping into each other around town. It was awkward at first, but we eventually started talking more. She's actually a pretty nice girl, just trying to make ends meet. I even found out we have a lot in common, like our taste in music and movies. One day, my husband, who had been working late a lot, suggested we hire Eva again, saying everyone deserves a second chance. I was hesitant, but I agreed. Eva was grateful and promised there would be no more incidents. Things were going well until last Thursday. I was working from home, and Eva was cleaning the living room while her sister was at school. My husband came home early, which was a surprise. I went to greet him, and that's when I heard a noise from upstairs. We both went to check it out, and well, we found Eva in our bedroom, crying. Turns out, she had accidentally knocked over a family heirloom vase while dusting. It was a gift from my husband's grandmother and meant a lot to us. My husband was furious, and Eva was a mess. She kept apologizing, saying it was an accident. I was torn between anger and sympathy. But here's the twist. While we were dealing with the broken vase, my husband's phone kept buzzing. He was getting a lot of messages, and he seemed anxious to check them. I found it odd, so later that night, I took a peek at his phone. What I found was shocking. He had been texting someone a lot, and it wasn't just anyone, it was Eva. They were planning to meet up that day, which explained why he came home early. I confronted him, and after a heated argument, he admitted he had developed feelings for Eva. He swore nothing had happened between them, but he couldn't deny the emotional affair. I was devastated. My marriage was on the rocks, and it was all intertwined with the girl who had caused so much chaos in our home. Eva was mortified when I told her what I had discovered. She apologized and quit on the spot, saying she never meant for any of this to happen. Now I'm left with a broken vase, a broken piece of my heart, and a lot of confusion. My husband and I are trying to work through this, but it's not easy. As for Eva, I haven't seen her since she quit. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that she's found another job and is doing her best to take care of her sister. Stepmom raised me and my siblings, but stepsister Liana ruined our lives by making us pay $100,000 to catch up her education. Now she admits guilt and gives me a check. I grew up in a big blended family where we all consider ourselves siblings, and I consider my stepmom my mom. All of us kids are close, except for one, my stepsister Liana, fake name. My parents think it's just because she didn't grow up with the rest of us, but that it's fine, and it's not. Yes, by the time she came to live with us, she was almost 18, but it's not because of that. it's because she cost the rest of us our futures. See, when she came to live with us, she had been independently homeschooled. She was said to be very smart, but testing revealed that she only had about a 9th grade education and no transferable credits. Neither our school nor the public school were willing to place her above 9th grade. Since she was only about a month from turning 18, this would mean she would be in high school until her 21st birthday, and would more likely than not have to drop out anyway. The only other option was to have her get a GED. They were devastated, especially because she had an offer from family friends to get her into and through college if she did a specific program that she did have advanced education in. If she didn't graduate that year, they would question how bad it was and likely rescind the offer. The only other option was for her to get a GED, which would force the family friend to rescind the offer, even if they still wanted to help, because she could never get accepted with a GED. My parents worried over this, until someone they knew, who was the admin of another private school, offered to help out. They offered to enroll her as a senior, and she could spend the year catching up. Provided they saw it in their hearts to give a donation, of course. Around $100,000 later, she graduated from an accredited high school and moved on to college. My family is just a normal middle class, so paying that meant that the rest of us had to take out massive student loans, and my youngest siblings even had to switch to public school. My older brother got some help before this, but there wasn't a dime for the rest of us. My parents justify it by saying that they had to do it because it was their job to give all of their kids as close to an equal start to their lives as possible, and this was the only option to do that for her. My mom asked why we all have strained relationships with Liana, and it finally came out that, truthfully, we resent her for the huge financial load on us and the entire family that she caused. It's been 10 years, and she's never even tried to apologize or make amends, and it's grating. Now my father says that mom has fallen into a depression because nobody loves Liana but her, and that we weren't a family despite everything she's ever done. We are a family, just not with Liana. Are we really in the wrong? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think your anger is misplaced, and you and your siblings should be mad at your parents, not your sister. Yeah, your sister was in a bad spot, but as far as we are aware, Liana didn't ask, beg, or expect to have $100,000 spent on her to get her a high school degree. I don't know what Liana's life looked like before she came to live with you all, and maybe there was some abuse or trauma there. Or just the lack of a proper education, which I doubt was up to Liana. It's your parents who wanted to keep her on this specific track of theirs, getting her into college on a specific timetable. And they had to know what spending this money would do to the rest of you. And they still chose it. That's on them, not Liana. Gentle. You're the idiot for holding something against your sister that wasn't her fault. Comment 2. You're the idiot. I have no idea how old you were when Liana showed up, but unless your parents gave you a detailed history of where she was and what she had been through the last 18 years, she may have had a lot more going on than you realize. You also said you're a normal middle-class family, but that your youngest siblings had to switch to public school. If they were attending private school, their tuition would likely cost more over the course of their primary schooling than Liana's did, no? It doesn't sound like Liana asked for this or purposely held herself back at a 9th grade level. If you love your stepmom like a mom, go talk with her like she's your mom. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit. It's been a week since I last posted about my stepsister Liana, and the whole mess with her education and how it affected our family. I've got some updates for you, and let me tell you, it's been a wild ride. So after the big blowout, where everything came to light, things got even more heated at home. My parents were trying to mend fences, but it was like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. Liana, on the other hand, had been pretty quiet since the argument, which was unusual for her. She's always been the type to speak her mind, even when it wasn't her place. Turns out, Liana had been doing some thinking of her own. She came to me a couple of days after the argument, and what she said was jaw-dropping. She admitted that she knew about the sacrifices our family made for her education, and that she felt guilty about it. I was floored because Liana never admitted to anything, let alone guilt. But here's the kicker. Liana had been saving up money from her job. She'd been working at this tech startup for a while, and apparently they were doing really well. She handed me a check. It was for a significant amount, not enough to cover everything, but enough to make a dent in the loans my siblings and I had taken out. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to rip the check up. The anger was still there. But another part of me, the part that remembered us as kids before all this mess, wanted to accept her apology. It was a tough call. Meanwhile, my younger siblings were having their own drama. They had been struggling with the switch to public school, and my youngest sister had been getting bullied. It was like one thing after another with us. But back to Liana. After giving me the check, she asked if we could all sit down as a family and talk. It was a tense meeting, to say the least. Voices were raised, tears were shed, and old wounds were reopened. Liana explained her side of things, how she felt abandoned by her biological mom, and how she never felt like she fit in with us. It was the first time I saw her vulnerable. My parents, especially my mom, were caught in the middle. Mom had always seen Liana as her own, and hearing how we all resented her stepdaughter was breaking her heart. Dad was trying to keep the peace, but you could tell he was struggling too. In the end, we all agreed to family therapy. It was a start, at least. We've had a couple of sessions, and it's been rough. There's a lot to unpack, a lot of hurt on all sides, but we're talking, and that's more than we've done in years. Now, for the bittersweet part. Liana's check helped, but it wasn't a magic fix. My siblings and I still have loans to pay, and the financial strain is still there. But there's been a shift in Liana. She's been making an effort, coming to family dinners, helping out with the younger kids' school stuff. It's like she's trying to be part of the family for real this time. And my mom, she's been doing a little better. She's not as sad as she was before, and I think it's because we're all trying to work through this mess together. It's not perfect, and I don't know if it ever will be, but it's something. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.